Hey, I'm going to turn down that volume real quick. This is Jim the Keys Bartender coming to you from Key Largo. How are you today? What's the worst question? Are you ready for Christmas? What does that even mean? Are you ready for Christmas? I mean, can you use it for anything else? Are you ready for the hurricane? Are you ready for the apocalypse? I mean, I guess there's some people that would answer yes, because they got about 1 million cans of food and 50 weapons and thousands of rounds of ammunition. That's kind of dark. But are you ready for Christmas? And then some people say, well, it's coming no matter what, right? Does it even matter if you're ready? I mean, you could get all your gifts and stuff like that. Are you ready? Are you ready to have a good holiday? I guess that's more. Are you ready to have a good holiday? Are you prepared to be happy? I think that's probably more appropriate. Are you looking forward to it? I think we are. My family is. I did mention on the previous episode yesterday's that we went to the Fairchild Botanical Garden, and it's huge. And like I had in yesterday's, sometimes I can't get my head around why can't we have more public parks and things like that. Because there's a vested interest maybe that a park takes up space and it's for the public. I mean, a botanical park in Miami, Cutler Ridge, that was the thing I could not remember yesterday, the name of the section. I think Cutler Ridge is a separate municipality. If I'm not correct, I may get the Miami people explaining it to me. But what happened is Miami, like LA, is a hodgepodge of municipalities. There's South Beach, Miami Beach, Miami, Coral Gables, and all these other Cutler Ridge and Hialeah. And they're all on they're all in that county. It's so different for me because I come from a place, Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was its own county. And all of Philadelphia County incorporated all of Philadelphia municipality. Where here it's a little different. Miami-Dade is, there's Dade City, I think there's a Dade City and things like that. But back to the public parks. How important is it? In the Florida Keys, we have limited land areas, right? Well, everyone has limited. There's an end to the amount of land there is, but they're considering the amount of development that we don't. One thing you know from listening to the show that we don't have a lot of public access beaches here. First, we don't have a lot of sandy beaches. It's a lot of coral and things like that. It would be hard to set up a beach because there's not a propensity for sandy beaches here. We have some Barrow Beach. There's a beach in Founders Park. We have Rouse Marina in Key Largo. It's a couple acres. It's an old marina that the county bought, and they're turning into a public park. But if you live here in Key Largo, there's very few places where if you're not on the water, there's very few places to go there. And I'm not bitching about it. That's just the way it is. There is a state park. There's John Pennekamp up here, and then you have Bahia Honda and things like that. And what's the proper mix? What's the proper mix for the public-private? And how much can a county absorb in revenue just by turning it over? I think when you when you take over real estate and turn it a public park, it's depending on the quality of the park and how it's taken care of. That means a lot, and how it contributes to the commonwealth, the common good. So, people go there to have their picnics and take their dog, just hang out, ride their bikes there. It's just nice to have. And in a place that doesn't have a big center, like a town center, a town square, it's a place where people can congregate and do those things that communities do. Like on New Year's Eve, they should have, I don't know, they should have a fireworks display on the bay side. Usually a couple businesses get together and they put them funds together to have a fireworks display. But it is an endeavor, and it's easy to think that, land where I am right now, I can take a picture of where my house is, and there's a house across the street, and the property sits on about 3 lots, zoned lots. It's treated as one property, but I think they're going to sell the lots and develop them. And there's mangrove trees, meaning stands of trees where they get permits. I think they got to pay a certain amount of money to cut down the trees. And people do this a lot. Sometimes they do this where they used to do things that were restricted and pay the fines because the rewards were so great. And say, hey, listen, I can pay a couple $1,000. I can do this. There were development that occurred back in mid-20th century where people were cutting canals left and right without talking to the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers and the county were some of the authorities that had to approve this development. And there was one group of people they did the cut in the island. I don't know if the Adams Cut was approved by the Army Corps of Engineers, because it actually is an artificial inlet, and it changed the ecosystem. I don't know for better or for good. But the island of Key Largo was pretty continuous, or the Key of Key Largo. It's an island. And they cut straight through the coral. And if you ever get the opportunity to stop here in the Keys, you could go on the Overseas Highway, park. There's the Ping Plaza nearby. Walk over to the cut, and you can look down, and you can see about closest to the highway, and during low tide, about 15 to 20 feet of coral cut straight across, and it's kind of a microcosm of the development of the Keys. And coral is just the skeletons of those things. And the same guys that did that were ones that did canals up in North Key Largo, and eventually, I don't know if it was the 70s or not, judges got or judges or people that issue the issuing authority, or the authority that would issue fines, got the idea and said, listen, we're going to issue fines and then make you clean up after that. Clean up and replace. If you cut a canal without approval or oversight, you're not only going to get a healthy fine, you're also going to have to fill it in. Today, we're dealing with a lot of this unrestricted development because canals, if they're properly or improperly constructed, they contribute to pollution by having dead plant matter in it, and the water that issues from the canal is polluted from that. The natural flow of the buildup of dead material in the bottom of the canal is actually creates that. And he said, hey, Jim, that happens all over mangroves. Yeah, but what happens, you have free-flowing water in the mangroves. Not so much in canals that don't have back-end flows. Some of them have back-end flows. Some of them have air curtains. They put bubbles and stuff like that. But that's enough foolishness. I spent a little time today. I always spend so much time on social media. I do. Because of the podcast, I will promote the podcast, trying to get listeners and telling people this is available. And I realize that the quality isn't always what people expect it to be, but it's something I do, and I've done it for, 500 and upwards of 550 episodes coming up. So going around tying together these social media accounts, every so often, especially on my Twitter, especially on my Instagram account, which I don't even know if it's worth it, because I don't even know why I do the Instagram account for the Keys Bartender. I always get those phishing attempts. Those phishing, I call them phishing. Phishing. That's called phishing. Where you got people contacting you saying hello. And when someone contacts my social media account, especially Instagram, I used to, in the beginning, I assumed that they were listeners, because the account says Keys Bartender, and the main profile picture on it says Keys Bartender, a podcast. So it's pretty explanatory. And so when another account, and I have to say account, because you can't guarantee that the picture that's shown there is the person. They don't know they can assume that's the podcast, and it represents the podcast. Because it's not I'm not pretending to be someone famous or someone particularly attractive. Why, I am told that. But I'm not pretending. And if I get contacted, originally I used to assume that they were contacting the podcast for interest in the podcast, saying, hello, how are you? I'm a listener. Thank you. But that doesn't happen on Instagram. What I do get is, hello, I'm Lai Ping from Malaysia. I have a cosmetic company. I'm very successful. Do you want to contact me on WhatsApp? It's almost as if, after all these things, these young women or accounts that portray young women is probably more accurate, that they're auditioning for 90 Day Fiance. Hey, listen, let me tell you something. If you really think that I'm handsome and dynamic, do you think I have to contact someone in another country to meet them and have a relationship? I mean, it's kind of insulting. They're saying, well, you'll definitely take this surrogate relationship from this sketchy profile, when I am not obviously a spring chicken. I kid myself sometimes that I look years younger. But if you are this beautiful Asian person, Asian woman, I think you probably have tons of opportunity in your own country. I think you do. I don't think you need to go fishing outside it. And what I envision is, when I get contacted, is I think this is what happens. Is that accounts, someone like Ping from Malaysia. That's not a name. I just got contacted by Rachel Duvalier from France. And Rachel de Valier from France. I'm pretty sure it's not a real person, because she purportedly is a student in the culinary arts in France. And every time I get contacted, I go and say, are you a listener to the podcast? Because this is a profile for a podcast. I don't have a problem contacting people. Oh, I'm looking for friends. I say, okay, say hello. Oh, do you like French cooking? Yeah, I like French cooking. Blah, 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 blah. And she keeps on coming back with the compliments. And I go, oh, thank you very much. And that's it. I don't come back with the other compliment, because I don't know who the person I'm talking to. I do not. Now, they can probably be assured that I am, if someone was going to portray themselves on Instagram or Facebook, I was not going to do a phony account of a 58-year-old man who's a bartender and a spin instructor and has a small podcast. Or burgeoning podcast. More accurate. But what I envision is that they go on, they put on some pictures onto their account. It's a relatively new account. You can tell by the amount of followers they have. They try to make it seem fun. I guess there's different styles to accounts. Some of the accounts are very provocative. The pictures are provocative. Some of them are revealing, and I guess they're fishing for different types of. They're fishing with different types of bait. So the more provocative ones are looking for people that are very, let's say, more desperate to seek out a relationship. And then there's other ones where they're kind of friendly and they have pictures of them. And that's the ones I respond to the most, because if they're just smiling and there's a picture and there's nothing revealing, it's a possibility that there could be a listener. And likely, I just don't want to be that one person to piss off that one person in Bordeaux who was listening to the podcast. And, it would be such a joy if I got contacted by a real person on social media. I do have people that contact the email address, jim@keysbartender.com. And I guess if they see the Keys Bartender thing, they can look at it and say, oh, this must be, if you're a foreigner, because the Keys means something different. In the United States, when they say Keys Bartender, I think most of the people would say, oh, they must be in the Florida Keys. So attributed certain qualities to the name. So this person, now my idea from a fishing farm standpoint, they go on Instagram, they friend a bunch of people in a certain demographic. Lonely men. And they'll hit hello, 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 hello. How are you? How are you? How are you? And they'll wait for a response. And they'll manage the responses because they send out, let's say, there's probably a certain amount they can do at one time, meaning handle responses at one time. So what they'll do is they'll set up a bunch of windows on their laptop and say, well, I got this person responded, this person responded, and they start doing the filtering process. Who are you? Where are you? What are you? They'll see if that person's lying about their age and they're desperate and they're, someone say, hey, I'm looking for a relationship. What kind of relationship? They are 6,000 miles away. 6,000 miles away. Or 4,000 miles, depending on where you're situated. What type of relationship are you looking at? Now, obviously, if you're just looking for something on the internet, presto, you've got a relationship. It could be a phony relationship, but you can pretend it's a relationship. This is my girlfriend. I had a friend of mine, an acquaintance, let's say, come in. He's in his late 70s, a retired fireman, and he came up and said, "Listen, are you still doing weddings?" And I'm like, "Oh, are you engaged?" And he goes, "I think so." And I said, "You think so?" He says, "Well, they don't live here." And he shows me a picture. It's a beautiful, 40 years younger, 45 years younger Colombian woman. And I go, and he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "Oh, she's very pretty." And he says, "Do you think," and I said, the next question I asked you, "Do you think I think she's real?" She could be real. Do I think that she contacted you and I don't know. That's that 90-day fiance thing. I've seen it before where they're so desperate to get out of their country. And then when they meet the fish, when they get the money, start getting money, they start asking for more money. Some people never come over. They always ask for more money. Some people do come over, and then they realize, the person that comes over, "Yeah, I'm poor in Thailand, and I come over to visit." And then they look around and go, "Yeah, it's a lot nicer here, at least standard of living wise where I am." But then they look at the person that they're going to be spending time with and just think, "I don't know if I'm willing to trade my life of impoverished squalor for a life with you." And that's briefly what 90-Day Fiance is. Sometimes they do fall in love. Sometimes they say, "This is it." But I've seen so many people get married. It used to be called a mail-order bride. Now it's a social media bride. I mean, it wasn't only before all these social media companies. They used to have these meet and greets in Russia, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, Thailand. Just different places where you can say, "Hey, listen, what we'll do is we'll get a bunch of young women. We'll bring some Americans of comfortable means over, and let's get them together." So they're on their accounts now. Nowadays, they just manage them, and every so often, all they have to do is get one person a week to send them $100, $200, and they're set. It's not that much. If you get someone to send $50, and you're in a mill in Khartoum, Sudan, a mill. When I'm saying a mill, meaning that they just have internet and they're just contacting people and maintaining accounts, and it may not even be the same person. There could be a couple people working off the same account. I find it interesting. And I'm thinking, oh, is it a real person, or are they just having a conversation, or are they just like this Rochelle Devalier? They could be real. And they're just going out and saying, "I just want to make friends with someone over there. I just want to talk to them." But the thing that gets me is when they start talking about looks right away. And I came back with, "How old are you?" "I am 58 years old." And then she was speaking, sent me a text in French, in which I understand French somewhat. And he either said, "I'm very old and you look it," or they said, "Oh, for your age, you have a magnificent physique and face." Either one. I don't want to know the translation, because either one, I'm very happy with the response either way. First one I find funny is, "Oh, well, you're very old. I could tell by your physique and your face." Actually, I do have a physique of a younger man, which is good. But that's for me and my wife. I'm ready to move on. So, today, another day off. I get up, have some coffee with the wife, and then I head to the gym. And the gym is in the place I have my part-time job, which is at the gym, Jim works at the gym as a spin instructor. But it was a day I did not have a class. This was my day. I work out on about 16 to 19 different machines. Try to work out the body, strengthen the core. That is my center of it. I work inside out, meaning from the core to the muscles as they go out to the arms, the wrist, the ankles, the legs. And recently, I pondered a change. I don't know if it's since COVID or not. Or it could be just from not drinking or anything. We not only do our bodies change, but actually our thinking and the way our demeanor changes as we get older. It becomes an effort. I think the more you have, more responsibilities have, and more cares, that you start carrying that with you and not processing things the same way. So I go to the gym, and there's always you know how it is. If you're a gym regular, you go, you have your routines. I work out by myself. And for some reason, I got this whole, I do the same, 90% of my exercise are always the same. And then recently, this really nice older gentleman came in. And he's been here before. I remember recognizing him. But he always sit on the sit-up bench and get these rubber bands with handles on it and do his exercise on this sit-up bench. About 10 different exercises on the sit-up bench. But the only thing he did not do on the sit-up bench was work on his abs. He did not do sit-ups. He did all upper body, all these things. And I'm like, why are you doing this on the sit-up bench? And the reason is he'd come in at timing-wise, right when I was wrapping up my exercise, right when I do my 140 to 200 sit-ups. I'm not doing that. That's not a humble brag. That's just, anybody can end up doing that if you if you work up to it. If originally I would do like 20 to 40, and then I do about, right now I do about 160 to 200, and I do some back exercises on another machine. That's just my core thing. And this guy would come in and he'd sit there for 30 minutes. And if I wasn't careful and didn't pay attention to him coming in, I wouldn't get my sit-ups in, because he sits there for a half hour with his rubber bands and doing that. And I would get pissed off and go, why are you using this machine? You could do these rubber bands. Some of the older people that live here, especially the ones who go to the gym, they're very comfortably. They live very comfortably financially. And this guy does too. I said, why can't you have those rubber bands, which would cost you $40, and do that from home on your doorknobs and all that stuff, the exercises that you're doing on your chair, your 10 whatever amount of resistance your rubber bands do. Why can't you just do that at home? Why do you tie up the sit-up bench? And then I let this resentment harbor. Every time he come in, I say, I better go and do my sit-up. So I see him come in, he warms up and stuff. I need about 5 minutes. 5 minutes of that bench. And then I thought about it. I said, why am I doing this to this poor guy? That's maybe the highlight of his day, coming in, sitting there, working out with the rubber bands and stuff like that. And I'm lifting weights and, doing, heavy dumbbells and barbells and all those things and cable machines. And I'm keeping an eye on this, and I'm thinking, I'm just letting this get to me when I don't have to, because there's other things I could be doing. And this poor guy, I was harboring resentment for. I'm thinking, I should take it as an opportunity to change up my workout. And that's how I changed the resentment from him into a thing. I say, thank you. Whenever anybody ties up a machine, I go and say, well, I got to learn a new machine then. What's available? What does that machine do? What can I do on it? There's a whole thing on the internet for people using gym equipment incorrectly. They use it backwards. They use it dangerously. Oh, there's a assault runner. It's called. I think it's called assault runner. And what it uses is your foot speed builds up the treadmill. The treadmill is powered by a gyro, meaning the more power you put into it, the faster it goes. And you have to, and I mentioned it on previous episodes, I realize, and my wife Abby told me, try this sometimes, but listen, if you need to slow down, what you do is you lean back. You lean back and stop. Because every time you lean forward, it goes, you have to go faster and faster, and it gets crazy, and you could just, I mean, if you fell on this and you're running your, 15 miles an hour, which I haven't done that in a while. I got to see how fast I can run again first. I don't know if I could do 15 or 16. Pretty good for a 58-year-old man. I just got to get up there and see what it is. I was born with these knock knees, and I was never really a powerful runner. I knew that. And I knew it when I was younger. I knew if I kept on trying to do it that I was going to destroy my knees. So I do other things that are lighter, but every so often I like to get on a treadmill and see what I can do. Yeah, see how long I can run for 13 miles an hour. A good run. Not a fast run, but it's, it's steady. I used to tell the younger guys I work with every so often, I say, you may be a little faster than me, but how about, and this is little guys, I say, listen, how about this? We do a race, and I know I can tell how far they went. I will come after you, but it'll be straight away. And if I catch you, I get to do whatever I want. But if you get away, I'll give you $50. And I said, I won't do anything creepy or something like that. I'll just beat the crap out of you. I would never beat the crap out of him. That's just for the case of the humble brag. Once again, it's like, I'm not going to catch you over 100 meters, but give me a quarter mile. Like the Native Americans chasing a horse down. That humans have an endurance that a lot of the animal kingdom lacks. Surprising. But I was thinking about that guy, and I was thinking, when do I build up these resentments about someone parking in a space, parking badly, doing a crooked parking space, and think it's not for me to be the person that dispenses justice for these minor offenses. Obviously, if something serious goes along, you got to step in there, right? As a decent human being, you're not just going to let injustice prevail. But someone tying up a sit-up bench, someone with 12 items in the 10 items or less, or 20 items. Hey, if the supermarket's okay with that, who am I? I went 2 items, I go to 10 items or less. I can always walk over to the main counter out front. I just realized that eating those resentments or swallowing them, they're just a waste of energy for me. And I'm going to endeavor, especially during the holidays, to be a little more understanding. At the place I work, we're going to be reinstituting a mask policy. I don't see that it's going to be, keep us from getting sick, but it's a work policy. Everyone's got to wear them. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope everyone's healthy right now, and I'd like to thank you for the extra downloads. I say this every time. For the new year, I want to have, before the end of the new year, 100,000 downloads. I'm not even close to that right now. 100,000 additional downloads. I'm not even close to that. But I have faith. I'm open to the universe right now. I'm open to success. Just about a month and a half ago, I got listed on I forgot the name of the site already. But I was number 4 in the top 20 bartending podcasts. And I do appreciate that. People say, Jim, sometimes you don't even talk about bartending on it. Well, you know what? We're one of the most diverse topic occupations. We talk sports, movies, personal relationships, self-help. So it really doesn't matter whether we talk about bartending or not. I'm a Keys bartender. I work as a bartender, and the show's going to stay Keys bartender. We're at it. And I'm a bartender that doesn't drink. Because being a bartender is not necessarily about drinking. You can drink. It could be a bartender who happens to drink or a bartender that happens not to drink. But for now, I'm hoping that all of you have, whatever way you celebrate this holiday or don't celebrate this holiday, I do hope you have a great end of the year. So for now, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to use the music this time. I forgot the last time to put the music on, but I appreciate you for pointing that out to me, listeners. Thank you very much, and until next time, bye.